Can you believe that this piece of furniture was part of the Habitat for Humanity display at the Maricopa Home Show today? Here we go. Watch carefully. There it is. Doesn't even look the same. Watch how I did it. 3 months ago, Habitat reached out to me to upcycle a piece of furniture. Let's go shopping at their Tempe location. I'm looking for a piece that I can upcycle into an entertainment center that will be part of Habitat's booth at the Maricopa Home Show in January 2025. They have some cute things. It's a nice dresser. This is the kind of thing, though, that catches my eye. I am a sucker for vintage. This is a really cute buffet. It looks like it kind of has a faux bamboo front. I think that this has a ton of potential. The team at the store were super friendly and helpful, and they even helped us load it into our truck so we could take it home and get started on it. Once I got it home, I spent some time inspecting it to try to get an idea of what I would need to fix and maybe some design inspiration. So it has a few scratches and worn spots, but really just cosmetic things that will be pretty easy fixes. Look at that great price that they were selling it for. This is pretty unbelievable. When we looking inside of it, it has the two doors on either side that each open up to a nice shelf, perfect for storing games, books, movies, whatever people keep in entertainment centers these days. And then the center section has this really nice drawer. This is where I discovered that this piece of furniture is an American by Martinsville. This is a highly sought after piece of mid-century modern furniture. What a great find. Somebody is going to be really happy with this piece. So, taking a look at it, there's a few little scratches here and there and some cleaning to do. I did a Google Lens search, and it looks like this piece was originally manufactured in this white color. So if it's been painted, it was painted over in a matching color. But I don't think that I'm going to have to strip it down because I plan on doing something with paint for this piece. Here is the mood board that I was sent for inspiration. Love the colors, and thank you, Habitat for Humanity, for this social media shout out. So as always, first thing I've got to do is clean it. When you're working with a piece of furniture that has a lot of detail on the front like this one does, I have found the easiest thing to do is get some hot water, Dawn dishwashing soap, and if you have a drill, you can purchase these little scrub brushes at your local hardware store, and they make cleaning the details on the front of dressers like this a breeze. I just put on this little scrub brush and go over the piece, and it gets every little bit of dirt out of all of those bamboo pieces and all of the intricate designs on the front. This is such a time saver, and it makes sure that I get all of the dirt off and that I have a really clean surface that I'm working with once I get ready to apply either paint or stain or really whatever I'm doing to a piece of furniture. The first and most important step is to get it nice and clean. Now that it's nice and clean, I'm going to grab my sander and some 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to lightly scuff sand the finish. I don't want to remove the finish down to bare wood. I'm just removing kind of the shiny top layer. This will ensure that my products will stick to it nicely. This also helps get any of the little scratches and damaged areas smoothed out so that we'll have a very nice, smooth finish when we're done. After sanding it, I grabbed some Bondo, and I'm going to repair a few areas where there were deeper scratches or dents in the surface. This dries super hard, and it is easy to then paint over. So this is a recommended step if you're doing something that you want to have a nice, smooth finish. You will notice that even though I'm outside, I am wearing a mask because this has a strong chemical smell, and I always wear a mask when I apply it to the piece of furniture, and then once it's dried, I put my mask back on before sanding it. You got to take care of your lungs if you're going to be flipping furniture. A lot of these chemicals are very strong, and you want to make sure you're always being safe. At this point, I still wasn't 100% sure what I was going to do, but I knew that I was going to paint it. So I'm going to start with applying a primer. I am using a primer called Bonding Boss by Dixie Belle Paints, and I'm going to make sure and get a nice smooth layer of the primer on the tops, the sides, and then I'll go over the front of the doors as well. This is super important when you're applying any type of a paint product to a piece of furniture that has a smooth, slick surface. You don't want to put a lot of time and energy into painting a beautiful piece and then have it easily scratch, wear, or peel off. There's a number of different primers that you can use. For something like this, I like to use either the Bonding Boss by Dixie Belle or a shellac-based primer. Zinsser makes a couple good ones that I use quite often. I decided to apply a layer of paint in the color Millstone by General Finishes. This is a nice neutral tan color that gives me several options. I can either go with the color as it is. I can apply a darker color over it if I decide I want to bring more color into this piece, or I can use this as a foundation to do a glazed faux wood look. I'm kind of leaning towards doing the faux wood look. Some people call it a Pottery Barn dupe because it kind of looks like the finishes that you would find at Pottery Barn. So this is a nice option. I had a gallon of this paint in my garage, so I decided to go ahead and use it and keep my options open while I decide exactly what I want to do. And I'm just using a small roller to apply it. This ensures that I get a really nice smooth finish. This paint dries pretty well. It self-levels and usually gives me a really nice durable finish. At this point, I realized that I need to take the doors off so that I can paint them and also get inside and do some work. So I went ahead and grabbed my screwdriver and I'm going to take the doors off, making sure that I keep the screws in order so I know which screws go into which door, and make sure that the doors go back in place. Sometimes it's really tricky to take doors off and get them to fit back on the way that they're supposed to. So every little thing that you can do to make sure that all of the original pieces go back in the same space seems to help. I'm also putting the primer, the Bonding Boss, on the inside because I do plan on painting the inside of it. It had a lot of stains that I wasn't able to get out, and I want to make sure that the whole piece looks fresh and brand new. You will notice that I flipped the piece on its back. I do this a lot. I will put it on its back. I'll put them upside down, whatever position is easiest for painting. And I also like to put the paint on each surface with the piece in a couple different directions so that I make sure that I don't miss anything. Always keep a spray bottle handy when working with a furniture paint. This paint by General Finishes is very thick, so I like to go ahead and spray the piece a little bit when I'm applying the paint just to help it go on nice and smooth and slow down the drying time just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead now and paint the sides in the same color, and then I'm going to paint each of the door fronts. It's looking really good. You can already see it's such a difference. It's just going to look like a whole brand new piece by the time that I'm done with it. So now that we've got this base layer of paint on, I'm going to go ahead and pay a little bit of attention to the inside. I've put some painter's tape to protect the paint that I added. And then I had this kind of creamy white color that I had used for another project. It's a mix of two different paints, and I had a little bit of it left over, so I'm going to use that on the interior to freshen it up and cover the stains and make sure that it looks like it's brand new. First, I did clean it already, but I'm going back in with a spray bottle and some lint-free rags just to get any dust that may have accumulated sitting in my garage. And then I'm using a fine roller again to make sure that I can reach in there, and I'll be painting all the surfaces on the inside, including the back, so a roller makes it really easy. I'll probably have to go over it with a brush just to kind of get back in some of the tight corners, but the roller should get most of it done. So I've decided I am going to do the faux wood finish. Thinking about the mood board, there were some really beautifuls and blues and greens on there, but since I'm only designing one piece of the room and I don't know what the other pieces are going to look like, I think it would be best if this was just a nice, clean, neutral wood color. So what I'm doing now is I'm just lightly going over the surface with a 400 grit sandpaper just to remove any little imperfections in the paint and get it ready for the glaze. Now it's time for the fun part. I love this technique. This is what's called the faux pottery barn or the pottery barn dupe. I get this by using a tan colored paint as my base and then using Rustoleum's glaze in the color Java brown. Now, I definitely recommend practicing on some wooden boards before you do this on your actual piece of furniture because it does take a little practice to get it right. The first thing you want to do is just put the glaze down. I like to do long strips going in the direction of the natural wood grain. I do not do the whole top all at once because I want to be able to work the product in. So I'll use an inexpensive brush that I picked up at the hardware store or Dollar Tree. Even a chip brush is fine for just putting the product on. Then what I do is I'll have a number of different brushes handy and I will dry brush. That means the brush that I'm using right now does not have any product on it, but I am just taking it all the way from end to end and then wiping the excess glaze off on a shop rag. I'm going to keep doing this until I start to get the color that I like and the look of wood grain. Now, of course, it's not going to look exactly like wood grain. It's not going to have all the variation that wood grain has, but you kind of get these long stripes going across it that look really pretty once you're done. I'm actually liking the way that it's looking just with this one brush, so I'm probably going to just use this one brush and not the other two brushes that I had handy. So once you get the first coat the way you like it, then you come in with more of the product, slightly overlapping the wet edge so that it will appear seamless once it's put on. You also want to be careful and pay attention to your edges because it will tend to drip a little bit. So I always make sure that I catch any that drips over the edge. So you can see how much of the product I removed off of the first strip when I apply my second strip. Same thing. I'm going to go back in now with my dry brush and go from end to end, overlapping where the two sections meet so that the color will blend and we'll get a nice, seamless, smooth application here. One of the hardest things that I find with this is you really have to work to keep your brush lines straight and not have them curve or angle towards one end or the other. I did go ahead and grab the little broom head. This is actually the head from a child's broom that I picked up at Dollar Tree. I saw another furniture flipper use it and thought, well, that's genius and affordable. So now you just keep doing the same thing, just a slight overlap with the next line of the glaze. Doesn't have to be perfect when you put it on there because you're going to go over it multiple times with your brush to get it nice and smooth. But don't be afraid to put product on. If you put too little, then you're going to end up with either blank spots or you're not going to get the type of texture that you're looking for with this technique. This is super fun. The more you do it, the better you're going to get. And you really just have to jump in there and try. And if for some reason, if right now I thought, oh, this looks terrible, it's totally screwed up, this product has a really long open time or long dry time. So I could always just grab some water in a rag. I could grab my degreaser, spray it down, remove it, and start over. But hopefully we won't have to do that. We'll speed up the film here a little bit so we can get to the end of this now that you have the idea and know what to do. This is probably one of the most satisfying techniques to do once you have learned how to do it, and it sells super quick in my area, which is Mesa, Arizona. There we go, making sure we get that brush smooth across the front where it changes. And here we go. This is the next day after it has dried. And you can see it has that kind of wood look. I did the top. Now I'm going to do the base of the piece using that same technique. I have my brush here that I'm using just to apply the glaze, get it onto the furniture, and then I'll use my dry brush to go over and smooth it out and give it the texture and appearance that I want to have. I'm still keeping my options open on whether or not I do faux wood on the sides or if I paint it. I'm really kind of making this one up as I go. I thought it might be kind of pretty to keep the face of the doors the tan color and highlight the faux bamboo with the glaze to match the tops and the base. So I got my painter's tape and I taped all around the bamboo, and I'm going to go in now and apply the glaze to the raised bamboo. And then same thing as I did on the drawer, on the top rather, and the base. I'm just putting the glaze lightly onto the piece, making sure it gets in all of the little detail areas. And then I'm going to come back over and dry brush it to remove the excess glaze, get the color and the texture that I want it to have. So I have a smaller dry brush, but I'm trying this one first and it's working quite well. Just to get in there with the smaller one, make sure that I remove the glaze from around the edges, that it gets in those little detail areas, and then always give it one last swipe going in the direction of the natural wood grain. And I'm just going to repeat this process on each area, kind of touching up as I go to ensure that I don't have any drips, I don't have any areas that I have missed or that I got too much glaze. This is a very time-consuming process, and remember, I have to do 4 of these doors. While the glaze is still wet, I am going to carefully remove my painter's tape. I'm doing this so that if any of the glaze seeped under the edges, I can just wipe it away while it's still wet and not have to worry about cleaning it up after it dries. Just have to be careful not to touch the wet areas. And as usual, removing painter's tape is so satisfying and so much fun. So now we're going to carefully grab the inside here, do the same thing, just pull it away from the bamboo, and we get our nice, neat, clean painter's line. So here's what it looked like at this point. I kind of liked it, but I wasn't sure. So I asked my friends on Instagram, and they all said that I should just go ahead and paint the entire door using the faux wood technique, that there's enough visual interest with the bamboo and the textured fronts that the 2 colors were kind of distracting, or as one person said, it kind of just looks dirty. So I will take the advice of my furniture flipping friends, and actually it's going to save me a ton of time because now I won't have to tape each of the doors. When in doubt, always ask your friends. So I am doing the entire front of the doors. I'm going to do the raised bamboo first. I'm going around the edges, putting the glaze on the bamboo and the door front. And once I get this side glazed, I'm going to come back in with my dry brush to remove the extra product and give it the texture and the wood grained look. And then I'll do kind of one side at a time. And then after I do all of the sides, I'm going to come in with a very little product on my brush and start gently applying it to that textured insert and blending it to get a nice light shade. Sometimes it's hard to see the true color on camera, but this is looking really pretty. And I'm not worried about making it perfect because I think a little bit of imperfection lends to the texture of the piece and also the fact that it's a vintage piece. So there we go. Finishing touch, I am going to take a little bit of rub and buff that I picked up at Michael's and a paintbrush and just touch up these hinges. They got a little bit of glaze on them. Some of them, they were a little bit old looking. So I'm just going over them with a gold finish to make them look nice and new and shiny. Super important for this technique is letting it dry thoroughly and then applying a nice durable top coat. So it has been drying for about a week, and now what I'm doing is I'm applying a layer of polycrylic in a satin finish. I'm using a sponge. I pick up a pack of these sponges in the kitchen area of Dollar Tree. I think there's like 5 or 6 in a container for $1.25. And I have found that for me, this works best for putting on my top coat. And this is my first layer of top coat, so I really just want to get it on there. I'm going with the grain of the wood, kind of from end to end, and then touching up the edges to make sure that there's no bubbles or no drips on the edges. I'll let this dry thoroughly, then I will lightly sand it with 400 grit sandpaper, apply another coat, and then I'll do a third coat on the top and 2 coats of poly on the body. I originally replaced the hardware with these round knobs, but then I found these kind of cute square ones. I asked my Instagram community and the majority voted for the square ones, so that's what I went with. And I also added this really cute floral paper to the drawer just to give it a nice finished look. So now it's all ready to go back to Habitat for Humanity's Restore. As a reminder, this is what it looked like when I brought it home. Here's my son loading it up to take it back to the store, and there she is, ready to go to the home show. My husband and I had so much fun at the home show, and it was really cool checking out all the furniture that people can get at Restore to remodel their homes. Doesn't my husband look great in their living room, watching TV on the entertainment center that I redid? Here's some other pictures of it just so you can get an idea of what it looks like. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. I think this is something that anyone can do with a piece of outdated furniture to give it a fresh look. Please subscribe, give me a like, and let me know what you think in the comments.